I'm Laura Martinez, and 6 months ago, I inherited the most worthless piece of land in New Mexico. At least that's what my mother-in-law called it. My father's 500-acre ranch wasn't much to look at: dry desert land, a modest house, and a barn that had seen better days. But Dad had insisted on keeping it in the family, refusing countless offers over the years. "There's more to this land than meets the eye, Mija," he'd always say with a knowing smile. What no one knew was that he'd left me more than just the ranch. He'd left me his research, carefully documented over 30 years, hidden in a safe behind his favorite photograph. When I found it the day after his funeral, everything started making sense. My mother-in-law, Diana Blackwood, had been trying to get her hands on the ranch since I married her son Thomas 3 years ago. The Blackwoods owned most of the surrounding property, turning it into luxury developments and high-end resorts. My father's ranch was the last holdout, a stubborn patch of authentic Southwest in their carefully manicured empire. "It's an eyesore," Diana would say at family gatherings, swirling her expensive wine. "Really, Laura, you're doing the whole region a disservice by keeping it as is. We could make it into something special." Thomas, who'd grown up in the world of real estate development, couldn't understand my attachment to the land either. "Mom's right, honey. That ranch is just sitting there, not generating any income. Her offer is more than fair." But I remembered the nights spent on the porch with Dad, studying the stars and listening to his stories about the land. He was more than just a rancher. He'd been a geologist before retiring to run the family property. Those nights weren't just father-daughter bonding, they were lessons he was passing down. The research he left behind confirmed what he'd suspected all along. The geological surveys, water table measurements, and mineral analysis painted an extraordinary picture. But I needed proof, concrete evidence that would stand up to scientific and legal scrutiny. I started making calls, quietly at first. Old colleagues of Dad's from his geology days, government energy officials, environmental scientists. Each conversation added another piece to the puzzle. I hired independent experts to conduct new surveys, paying them from my savings and swearing them to secrecy. Deanna noticed the increased activity around the ranch. "Planning some renovations?" she asked sweetly during a Sunday dinner at her mansion. "You know, if money's tight, our offer still stands." I smiled politely and changed the subject. Let her think I was struggling. It made what was coming even sweeter. The pressure intensified as Diana's latest development project approached its final stages. The Desert Springs Resort was supposed to be her crowning achievement: 1,000 acres of luxury homes and golf courses surrounding my father's ranch. But without our property, their plans would have to change significantly. "Be reasonable," she said one evening, cornering me in her kitchen. $5 million is more than generous for that dusty old place. You could buy a beautiful home in our new development, be part of something spectacular." What she didn't know was that I'd already received a preliminary report from the Department of Energy. Dad's research was right, spectacularly right. But I needed just a little more time to get everything in order. Deanna, however, had run out of patience. She arranged a family dinner that felt more like an intervention. Thomas's siblings were there with their spouses, along with his father, Richard, who usually stayed out of Diana's schemes. "We need to discuss the future of this family," Diana announced once everyone was seated. "Laura's continued obstinance about the ranch is holding everyone back. The Desert Springs project represents our legacy." She pulled out a folder containing transfer papers already prepared. $5 million, as discussed. "Just sign here, and we can all move forward together." The room was quiet, everyone looking at me expectantly. Even Thomas seemed eager for me to simply give in, to stop fighting his mother's will. "Actually," I said calmly, "there's something you should know first. The government surveyor's final report arrives on Tuesday. You might want to wait before filing those papers." Diana's perfectly maintained smile faltered slightly. "Government surveyors? What government surveyors?" I took a sip of water, thinking about Dad's research, about all the nights he spent meticulously documenting what lay beneath that worthless desert land. "You'll find out soon enough. But trust me, you're going to want to hold onto those papers." "This is ridiculous," Diana snapped, her composure cracking. "Thomas, talk some sense into your wife." But Thomas was looking at me with confusion and growing curiosity. In 3 years of marriage, he'd never seen me stand up to his mother like this. "What's really going on, Laura?" he asked quietly. I stood up, smoothing my dress. You'll all find out on Tuesday. Dad always said there was more to that land than meets the eye. He was right, in ways that are going to change everything. As I walked out, leaving the transfer papers untouched, I heard Diana already on the phone with her lawyers. But it was too late. By Tuesday, everyone would know exactly what my father had discovered beneath that desert soil, and the Blackwood family's plans would never be the same. Tuesday morning dawned hot and clear over the ranch. I sat on the porch where Dad and I used to stargaze, watching dust devils dance across the desert. By noon, everything would change. The first vehicle to arrive was the black SUV carrying Dr. Elena Rodriguez from the Department of Energy. Behind her came 3 more government vehicles and a van from the U.S. Geological Survey. I'd been working with them for months, verifying Dad's research. I wasn't surprised to see Diana's Mercedes kicking up dust on the access road shortly after. News travels fast in small towns, and the sudden appearance of federal vehicles at the ranch would have set off all her alarm bells. "What is the meaning of this?" she demanded, striding across the yard in her designer heels. Thomas was right behind her, along with their family lawyer. "Mrs. Blackwood," Dr. Rodriguez greeted her professionally. "You're just in time. We're about to conduct the final confirmation survey." "Survey of what?" Diana snapped. "This is a private property matter." "Actually," Dr. Rodriguez replied, consulting her tablet, "this property sits on what appears to be one of the largest lithium deposits ever discovered in North America." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the desert wind seemed to pause. "Lithium," Thomas whispered. As in the essential component for electric vehicle batteries, yes. I finished. Dad was a geologist, remember? He spent 30 years mapping and studying this land. He knew what was here, but he waited until the technology and market were ready. Diana's face had gone pale. "Impossible. We've had surveys done." "Surface surveys," I corrected. Dad's research went deeper. The unique geological formation here created what he called a lithium trap. Deposits far richer than anything found before in the U.S. Dr. Rodriguez nodded. "Our preliminary estimates suggest the deposit could supply up to 30% of the nation's lithium needs for electric vehicle production. Given the current push for domestic supply chains, this is a game-changing discovery." I pulled out Dad's research notebooks. He documented everything. The mineral composition, the extraction potential, even environmentally sustainable methods for accessing it. He wasn't just sitting on this land. He was protecting it until it could be developed responsibly. Diana's lawyer was already on his phone, frantically researching lithium prices. I saw the moment he found the current market value. His eyes went wide. "The $5 million you offered for the ranch," I continued quietly. "The lithium rights alone are worth billions. But that's not even the best part." Dr. Rodriguez took her cue, pulling up a satellite map. "The deposit extends well beyond the ranch boundaries. However, due to the geological formation, the only viable access point is through this property. Any extraction would have to begin here." I watched understanding dawn on the Blackwoods' faces. Their luxury development plans, their Desert Springs resort, all of it would have to change. The ranch wasn't just valuable on its own. It was the key to accessing the entire region's mineral wealth. Diana recovered first, her business instincts kicking in. "We can work something out. A partnership. The Blackwood Group has the resources, the connections. I've already made other arrangements," I cut in. "A consortium of American manufacturers has agreed to fund the development with strict environmental protections in place. Part of the land will remain a working ranch, honoring Dad's legacy. The rest will become a model for sustainable mineral extraction." Thomas stepped forward, really looking at me for the first time since we'd married. "You knew about this, all those times Mom was pressuring you to sell." "I suspected," I said softly. "But I needed proof. Dad left me everything I needed. His research, his contacts, even introductions to the right government officials. He prepared me for this moment." The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. News of the lithium discovery made national headlines. Environmental impact studies were conducted, permits were filed, and construction began on the extraction facility. True to my word, I made sure it was done right. No cutting corners, no rushing for quick profits. Diana tried everything to get a piece of the project. She offered partnerships, threatened lawsuits, even attempted to challenge Dad's will. Nothing worked. The documentation was ironclad, and the federal government's interest in domestic lithium production meant they were backing me fully. The Blackwood Group's Desert Springs resort was redesigned, scaled back to work around the new reality of their neighbor being a strategic mineral resource. Diana had to content herself with marketing eco-luxury living near America's clean energy future. Thomas and I had long conversations about trust, respect, and seeing beyond surface appearances. He admitted that his mother's materialism had colored his view of value. Watching me manage the lithium project, balancing profit with responsibility, changed his perspective. "Your dad knew exactly what he was doing," he said one evening as we sat on the porch. "Not just with the lithium, but with you. He raised you to see the bigger picture." 1 year later, the ranch has transformed, but not in the way Deanna had envisioned. The historic ranch house stands proudly restored. The barn has become a research center where geologists and environmental scientists study sustainable mining practices. A portion of the profits funds scholarships for students studying clean energy technology. Last week, I found Diana walking the property line, staring at the facility taking shape in the distance. For once, her perfect composure showed cracks of genuine emotion. "He offered to sell me this land 15 years ago, she said quietly. "Your father." I dismissed it as worthless without even doing proper research, too focused on what I wanted to see rather than what was actually there. I thought about Dad's patient smile, about all the lessons he taught me about looking deeper, about waiting for the right moment. "It's not too late to learn from him," I replied. "The consortium could use someone with your development experience if you're willing to do things the right way." She looked at me for a long moment, perhaps seeing me clearly for the first time. "I'd like that." Now, as I watch the sunset paint the desert in shades of gold and purple, I think about how appearances can deceive. This worthless land turned out to be one of the most valuable properties in the Southwest. But its true worth isn't just in the lithium beneath the soil. It's in the lesson it teaches about patience, vision, and the wisdom to see beyond the surface. Dad's favorite photograph still hangs in the ranch house, now restored to its former glory. Behind it, the safe holds more than just his research. It holds the proof that sometimes the greatest treasures are the ones others are too blind to see. Yesterday, a young geology student touring the facility asked me why Dad had waited so long to reveal what he'd found. I smiled, remembering all those nights under the stars. "Sometimes," I told her, "the real value of something isn't in what you can get for it today, but in what it can become tomorrow. You just have to be patient enough to wait for the right moment and wise enough to make sure it's developed the right way." The desert wind carried her answer away, but I know Dad would have approved, because in the end, he left me more than just a valuable piece of land. He left me the wisdom to know what to do with it. And that's worth more than all the lithium in the world.